Welcome to The More We Explore. Tonight we are here with Natasha and Luca from That Vegan Couple, and we're going to just have a chat and ask them some questions.
Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for having us on your channel.
Great to be here.
We love your channel. It's so positive and uplifting and makes us want to be better people. And we got turned on to some of your minimalist videos, and we wanted to ask about, well, first off, for you, what is minimalism, or what does that concept mean to you?
Yeah, good question. It's definitely about living simply so that others may simply live. I think that would be the defining quote of minimalism for us. And it's about treading as lightly on this planet that we share as possible.
Awesome. And you guys have done an awesome job of this on your channel, but if you could just kind of just tell a little bit about your background and your story and how you guys got to this more minimalist lifestyle. And I mean, obviously you guys are the vegan couple, so that it also kind of seeps into other aspects of your life, but if you could tell us a little bit.
Okay, so many years ago, we were living in Melbourne, Australia, which is down south, and we owned a townhouse, a double-story townhouse with 3 bedrooms, and it was full of stuff. We were working corporate jobs. We were basically living a standard Western lifestyle, and we bought lots of things. We had, I guess, a high disposable income at that stage, and we spent most of our time just buying things. So we'd go shopping, and whatever we saw we liked and if we could afford it, we'd buy it, whether we needed it or not. And it turned out that this house was just full, and we were working very hard to pay for things that we weren't always using or didn't really need. Long story short, we ended up very miserable at that stage in our lives. We were in our mid-20s. We were very unhealthy. We were eating a standard Western diet of meat, dairy, and eggs. We were always sick. We were at the doctors and pharmacy a lot. And we just felt miserable. We felt very heavy. And so we had individual issues that we were sort of sorting out individually. And then we brought that to our marriage, to our relationship. Everything just felt like it was falling apart. It was really heavy. So we decided, look, we need to fix these things. We wanted to be together. We decided to take a year off work, put our careers on hold, and travel. And at that point, we were saying, you know, we want to be light. We felt so pulled down. So we had to put everything in storage at my grandmother's house at that point. But we just wanted to live for 1 year, travel for 12 months, with backpacks. We wanted to be self-contained and live like snails. So that's where this whole idea began. As we were traveling, my grandmother unexpectedly passed away. So my parents had to move all of our stuff from her house into a storage unit. We came back at the end of that 12 months, opened the storage unit doors and went, oh my God, what did we do? How did we live like this?
Because we went, oh my God, because we realized we'd just spent 12 months having the time of our lives, and we hadn't even thought about all that stuff. We hadn't used any of it, obviously, because we were on the other side of the world. And then we thought, well, so why have we got it all?
And we didn't buy anything either during that 12 months, so we didn't need it. From that was 7-8 years ago. Basically, it's been a process of cutting it down. So the majority of that storage unit was sold on eBay within 8 weeks, and that was
That's a lot of work.
It was a full-time job.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You were like taking photos and writing descriptions, and it was Tetris to try and put everything back in at the end of the day.
This thing was stacked floor to ceiling, you know, wall to wall.
Like scary stuff. And we've just continued that process of cutting down. We've lived all around the world, different jobs, different experiences, and always had things left with our parents, just in boxes. And the last step was we had 7 boxes left with my parents.
And now we're down to 1 suitcase left with them.
Yeah.
And in that suitcase, we should mention, is our wedding album, which, you know, we kept that.
Sure. Yeah.
A good pair of pants and a shirt, a good dress, like just in case anyone gets married, we have to go to a wedding or something.
A funeral.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah. In terms of personal possessions, we kept like, I think 1 gift that you gave to me and like our first card or letter, you know, just very few personal things. So that's that suitcase at Mum's.
And then what we've got with us here, which is, you know, like 2 large backpacks, 2 day packs, 1 suitcase with bedwear and stuff that we still need at the moment, and our bikes. Basically, all our possessions fit into our 4-door sedan motor vehicle. So,
wow,
that's awesome.
So that's a pretty big, bold move to just quit your job and leave for a year. How did you have the courage to do that? Because most people couldn't do that.
Yeah. It was divorce or make a change. We had we call it a quarter life crisis. So we were a breaking point.
Yeah. I mean, we realized that, having it all was not all it's cracked up to be. And we also knew that things were broken and we couldn't fix them at the same level that they were created. As in, we couldn't fix them living the same way that we'd created those problems. We knew we needed a drastic change, a big transformation. So we needed to step outside of the box that we had been living in and sort of give ourselves perspective, give ourselves time. And it's only when you sort of remove yourself from the situation, look back at it objectively.
It becomes so much clearer. It's like, oh, that's why that problem exists. That's what you need to change. But once you're in the problem, you can't see it.
Yeah.
And the other thing was that first year was an incredible experience because not only were we living out of backpacks, but the last 3 months of that year, we lived in an ashram in India. And we literally locked ourselves away. We didn't have contact with the outside world. We said, Mum and Dad, we need some time completely, almost in isolation with each other and ourselves.
And this is coming from a couple who said, we'll travel anywhere in the world, but we'll never go to India.
Oh, we went there.
We had, an India phobia.
Yeah, since then we've been back we've been there 3 times. So it's something that keeps drawing us back. But the point is that ashram was a very simple experience. We had concrete floor. We had a separate bed each, which very thin mattress. We were very excited to see we had a bucket to wash our underwear in each night. Very, very basic.
Very basic.
And that was one of the happiest and most life-changing 3 months experience that we could ever
in the dining hall, we all used to sit on the floor and just eat eating with our hands. So, it was an interesting experience. Again, about how little you actually need to survive and to thrive.
And in fact, I remember I was still wearing my wedding rings at that point, and I was so embarrassed having my gold diamond rings on in the ashram. And we were doing yoga one day, and I couldn't do something because my big diamond was in the way. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, so the juxtaposition of the simplicity in which we were living with, the ostentatious, grotesque ring.
Exactly. I took it off and I wrapped it in a tissue and I buried it in my backpack. And that was the last time I wore it. And we actually sold our wedding rings a few years ago too.
Wow, what a neat story. And kudos to you for being able to do that. Do you think there are other relationships out there suffering from materialism or too much stuff that could benefit from this?
Absolutely, Steve.
Yes.
I think people think that material possessions will bring them happiness, and that is, a falsehood. That is, it's a lie that's been sold to us by industries that want us to buy their products so that they can line their wallets with profit. And
it's also a distraction.
It is.
So many people we meet and speak to just distract themselves with, I'm just going to go down and buy this from IKEA and, Maya's having a sale and whatever, it just...
Yeah. For example, all of our spare time and attention when we were working corporate careers would go into maintaining our home and our possessions. So I remember you used to pick the lint out of our Fisher and Paykel deluxe washing machine, on the weekend. And again, as you say, a distraction from the problems that we were experiencing as a couple.
Because I was miserable, but I'm like, I hate my life. Lint. And this was in our mid-20s. That's not okay. So I think when people get desperate, when you get to a point when you look around and think, is this it? And I'm only in my 20s and I've got a long life ahead of us. Do I really want to be picking lint out of the washing machine and hating the man next door in the other room? I don't think so. So it's interesting how it's all connected. It really is.
That is so wonderful. I bet that was such a juxtaposition to go from India to your storage unit, and it probably almost felt wrong, you know?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It did, particularly seeing having experienced how simply we could live and be happy, but also seeing the Indians outside of the ashram and living their everyday lives in complete and utter simplicity, most of them. Of course, the middle-class Indians are now aspiring to live like everybody does in the West.
And that is very scary.
Very, very scary because, of course, there's 1.2 billion people in India and 1.3 in China. And that middle class, if they all want, each adult wants a car each,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the first time we really saw poverty, real poverty. And it was just so humbling. It was embarrassing having more than one pair of shoes or whatever.
Exactly.
It was, a wake-up
And
call.
I like it. In a couple of your videos, you guys both talk about gratitude and the role that has in the way that you live now. And I really admire that.
Could you tell us a bit more about how living that way has affected your gratitude?
Yeah. And I guess it just makes us appreciate the things that we used to take for granted a hell of a lot more. So, and when you complain, you think about the other people who have less materially than you do.
Yeah, and, that's not to say that we don't have problems, or we like to call them life situations, right? So we all have life situations that we need to deal with in the West. And they're all valid because, you still got to pay the bills, you still got to get the kids to school, or you may have health problems, whatever it is. And they're relevant for you in your present situation. But it's great to acknowledge them, put them in perspective, have some context, and then use that as a way to move forward to create the life that you actually want. So there's no point just sitting there moaning and whining about the bills. Okay, you got bills. There are other people that don't have food on the table. Get some perspective and move forward and start creating what you need. Another incredible experience we had, and this is a really important one, we volunteered at an organisation in Thailand many years ago, and we worked with young disabled adults. Many had motorcycle accidents and had amputated arms and legs. Some were born with disabilities. Some children were blind. Just a variety of people, young people that were physically disabled in some way. To see them smiling each day, to see them learning how to use their feet instead of their hands that they didn't have. I had to dress a girl one day after we took her swimming. She was in a wheelchair. I had to put her bra on because her fingers were so crippled.
And I was just going to add to that and say, and I remember going to use the urinal, and the young guy beside me, a contemporary, was emptying his catheter bag into the urinal, and I was thinking, wow, just to have the use of all the, faculties and what have you, wow.
It just...
humbling and
you never complain that you're too short or that you're, different colour skin or whatever. My hair's too thin, my hair's too curly. Yeah. It's like, that just... So
it's like that saying, I used to complain that I had no shoes until I saw a man with no feet, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And another one is, it's not the problem that's the problem, it's your attitude about the problem that's the problem.
I like that.
So, and having an attitude of gratitude is a really powerful mindset and approach to life.
Yeah, and that was a great experience because we ended up, we're yoga teachers and we have been teaching yoga for quite a few years now. And the biggest complaint we hear is, oh, I'm not flexible enough. Oh, I can't do that pose. And we always go, excuse me, you have legs. That is incredible. What you can do with those legs, it doesn't matter. Okay? It's your intention. Just enjoy it. So the gratitude is just central to how you see your life and what you create and what you draw to you.
I remember at one point, just on the gratitude, it's such a big part of our daily lives. We were living in Ecuador in the mountains, isolated, like nomads.
Like hermits.
And I would sit there and give gratitude as I was eating my breakfast, and this is something we got.
Hours.
This is something we got from the ashram in India. Just closing your eyes, acknowledging the food that you're eating, thanking the farmers who planted the seeds and tended the crops and harvested them, and everyone who was involved in the production of that food, the sun for growing the food, the land on which it was grown.
Hours later, breakfast was maybe finished.
It's a powerful practice.
It is,
though,
and we're not saying that everyone has to do that, but it's
No.
just an example of how deep you can go into gratitude.
Yeah.
What a wonderful attitude. Thank you for sharing that. So most people caught up in this Westerner life and consumerism and materialism, they're not going to quit and go live for 12 months. Even if they might need to, what can they do to get started? Because, people watching this are going to say, oh, I feel that, but I'm not ready to take that plunge yet.
Sure.
Yeah.
Number one thing, acknowledge what the situation is. People live in denial.
As Mark Twain said, denial ain't just another river in Egypt, and he was gone.
So the first step is to actually acknowledge that you do have a problem or a life situation that you're dissatisfied with and that needs changing, because we cannot change what we won't acknowledge. I think that's Dr. Phil. Doesn't matter. So that's step one. Step two is to start putting down on paper what you actually want.
Writing down some life goals.
Visual, like what kind of a person do you want to be and what do you want to look like? And that might sound superficial, but, we're going to switch now to health. What are you eating? How are you living? What are you drinking? We used to be smokers and very heavy drinkers and very unhealthy. That all changes because what you put in the body is what you're giving out into the world. And it's this give and take of energy and everything in exchange. So you really need to start thinking about what kind of a person do I want to be? Who do I want to attract to my life? Where do I want to live? What kind of job do I want? People don't take the time to actually sit down and write this down because they're too scared to dream big, because that might mean they actually got to do something about it. And that fear, it disables people. It keeps them in this rut of the mouse wheel. Yeah. So step one, acknowledge. Step two, get it down on paper. Step three, I guess, start taking action.
Yeah, and also you can just begin to minimize your possessions in your current life situation as well.
Yeah.
So, have a garage sale, have a big spring clean, and then, follow it up with a garage sale, or sell some of your unwanted, unused items on eBay, or give them away, donate them to worthy causes.
And stop consuming. Don't give them away and then replace them again.
Exactly.
That's
just
what
stop buying.
How do people learn to do that? How do they learn? They've spent their whole life watching ads telling them they're not happy until they buy this product that will make them happy. How do we break that cycle?
They need to move away from the mainstream and start watching YouTube channels like ours.
and seek inspiration,
Yeah, they need to
people
start
who are
looking
already
out.
living this minimalist lifestyle and sharing their joy, really.
And look, to be honest with you, when we started this, we had no idea what we were doing. We never heard the word minimalism. In fact, it was like, how many years later? We were in India again.
Yeah, that was 3-4 years later.
Okay, so 3-4 years later,
we realised there was a word to describe what we had been doing.
our yoga students said, oh, you guys are minimalists. And we're like, well, what?
Yeah.
We had no idea. We've never read a book about minimalism. We never Googled it. Nothing. All we knew is we felt like crap. We felt heavy and things needed to change. So, we do believe that it's intuitive. It's not rocket science. Look at what you're doing. It ain't working. Do the opposite.
And also something tangible would be sell some stuff or give some stuff away and see how that makes you feel. And if it actually makes you feel lighter, and I bet it will, then you'll start to have that self-realization, that thing didn't necessarily make me that happy, because if it did, how could I feel so light giving it away or selling it or what have you? So then it's that realization that will encourage further minimalism and further feeling of lightness, and then
everything else just starts to change around you.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
It reminds me of that great quote, the more stuff you own, the more your stuff owns you.
Yeah.
Right.
So conversely, the
Mm.
less stuff you own, the less your stuff owns you.
And the more you step into your power to start making those real changes and creating the life that you want. So definitely people have to stop looking at billboards, stop looking at magazines.
Yeah.
And we haven't owned a television in 8 years.
Yeah, forget keeping up with the Joneses, because it's a never-ending cycle. Apple is going to release, the iPhone 7 soon enough, and everyone who's got an iPhone 6 is going to feel like, oh no, the iPhone 6 is fine. We didn't have a phone for 5-6 years.
And now we've got a second-hand phone that we're building our YouTube channel on,
That's amazing.
Just, you've got to want it. There are no obstacles. You've just got to want it. You've got to look for it. There is so much information on this now. You've got to want it.
So aside from the financial cost of purchasing an item, what other costs does it cost you to have something?
Yeah, absolutely. When we were talking about this before, now that we're going to be traveling to Thailand, every item needs to be accounted for, because we're going to physically carry that on us. And when you have to move things around, to different accommodation and what have you, you need to be light and you need to be mobile. The more you have, the more you're bogged down, weighed down, and it just makes everything cumbersome.
Yeah.
And
when you've got to carry it on your back, you really evaluate, do I need that extra pair of shoes? Do I really need that dress? How many times have I worn those pants? Put it on your back. And catch a bus.
Excellent advice.
Like a snail, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, to date, it has been that excess stuff that we've had, the burden of having to store it with someone, as in the burden we're placing on them, that they have to, make some space to accommodate that stuff. And then also, that's always in the back of our mind, damn, that suitcase is under mum and dad's house.
Those boxes are with grandma, those whatever. We have relied on people to a certain extent up until now. So now's like the last hurrah.
Well, and one thing too that I'm curious just how this fits into your lifestyle is I've realized that for some people, when it comes to gift giving, it's kind of an uncomfortable area for people in your life. And so from your guys' perspective, what is meaningful to get as a gift when it comes to birthdays and holidays and things like that? What are the gifts that people give you that matter?
Yeah. I think the whole gift-giving thing, again, it's all propagated by industry who just wants to encourage us to consume more. And the gift-giving has been attached to love, the idea of, if you give something to someone, materially, that's an indication of, how much you love them. When in actual fact, love has nothing to do with material possessions. Absolutely nada, zero, niщо. That's Macedonian. So for us, we would say to that person, you know what? The greatest gift you could give to us, and actually in turn to yourself and to the animals and to the planet, is to go vegan. Because that's the greatest gift that anyone could give us.
That's all we need. That's all anyone needs.
Because we know that person has then saved X number of animals' lives for the rest of their life. And I think when we're on our deathbeds, we won't be thinking about the jobs that we worked, the holidays that we went on, or the boat that we bought, or the house that we lived in. We won't be thinking about that stuff. We'll be thinking more about what impact did I have on this planet? Did I give of my time? Did I respect all beings? Did I
give life or did I take life?
Yeah.
Right. So that's personally how we go about it. People know not to buy us anything, and we haven't lived in Australia for much of the last 8 years anyway. So sometimes things were sent over, and we made sure that stopped really quickly. And again, we just passed those things on. We never kept anything. In a more practical sense, for people living around family and friends more often than we do, the first thing is they have to be very confident in their life change. They have to voice it. We find a lot of people get stuck on this because they really care what other people think so much that, well, I don't want to offend so-and-so, and my sister means well, and I don't want to tell people that I'm living simply and trying to be a minimalist because it's just rude. again, that's just going to make it such a difficult thing for your life. It's going to create so much drama. You really have to step into your power and speak confidently and say, I appreciate that you want to give me something, but I don't want anything. Thank you. What maybe another idea is instead of giving a material, possession, it can be a doing. So let's go out for lunch. We'll go out for a meal because everyone's going to eat, for example, or movie tickets, or something to go to the theatre or whatever. A doing gift rather than a possession gift. That's probably a nice medium ground.
Yeah, sure.
If you're not, keen on saying nothing.
Yeah. Or exactly. Another one I was thinking of. If someone wanted to give us something, we could say, well, thank you so much for the thought. Really appreciate it. If you really want to do something for us, there's this animal farm sanctuary, for example, that does a lot of great work for animals, and they're always in need of money because of the running costs. If you wanted to donate whatever amount you were thinking of spending on a material gift for me to that organisation, I couldn't be happier.
What a great idea.
That's a great idea, yeah.
Well, I could go on for hours gleaning from your wisdom. You are two of the wisest people we've ever met and two of the happiest people we've ever met. And it's almost unbelievable to think at one point you weren't this happy. But I think it's good for our viewers to see that all the people, everything is not as it seems all the time, and it was a journey to get to this place. And I'd love to go for hours, but we really respect your time, and we want to give you the closing thoughts and any thanks you want to give to anybody or promotions for what's going on in your life, what's coming up, related to minimalism or not. Just the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so
Steve.
much. So,
Please.
well, this has been fantastic. And I think what we want to say most is that reducing your possessions is a wonderful first step, but it doesn't end there, because we're talking about here on this channel, in this conversation, reducing our footprint on this earth, correct? So the best and most effective way that we can do that is by adopting a vegan diet and lifestyle. And we just want to quickly refer to Cowspiracy.com, a wonderful new documentary. And we've got some numbers here that are so important. Let's just bring it up.
So a person who follows a vegan diet produces 50% less CO2 and uses 1/11th oil, 1/13th water, and 1/18th land compared to a meat eater. So we can make a difference simply by eating less animal products and replacing them with plants. Talk about treading as lightly as possible on our planet so that, for our current generation and future generations.
Yeah, it is the most important change to make. And a lot of people say to us, oh, but you travel so much, you take aeroplanes everywhere. That's not very minimalist. The truth is that you could live in a Malibu house and drive a Hummer and own so much stuff, but you would still have a smaller impact on our planet if you were vegan than not.
You're saying, a vegan
living
in a Malibu mansion,
yes,
driving a Hummer, actually has a smaller carbon footprint than a meat eater living a minimalist lifestyle.
Exactly. Thank you. He's got it.
Yeah.
And
that's because there was a report in 2006 by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization that showed that 18% of global greenhouse gas emissions were attributed to the animal agriculture industry, which dwarfed that of the entire transportation sector, which only attributed 13%. So that's more than all the trains, trucks, cars, buses, trains, automobiles, planes.
Everything. So for us, that's the best thing we can do for the world, for the planet, for our health, of course, for the animals, everyone concerned. Everything that stems out of that is fantastic in terms of cutting down your possessions, owning less, and living minimalist. But really, that is the most important step we can take, and everything gels together to create a very harmonious, peaceful, happy, and healthy life. And this is coming from two people who were on the brink of divorce, just miserable. So you can take those positive steps if you choose. And if you, step one, acknowledge what needs to change. and just move from there. So it can be done. We're living proof of it. And you can definitely find out more about how to do this on our channel, of course. Where we're going next, we have to decide in the next less than 24 hours what we're doing. But the adventure continues, and we take our viewers with us. So we will see what life
So we'll stay
has
tuned
for us.
to see what's next.
Yes.
We will be
Yes.
following, and we can't wait to see what the future brings for you.
Us too.
Thank you so much, Steve and Tess.
Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful chat. I can't wait to share it with our viewers. They will learn so much, and we hope to do this again sometime down the road and see where you're at then.
And be sure to follow that vegan couple.
Yeah, we're talking to our viewers, not the vegan couple. Yeah. Click subscribe to follow them and watch their channel. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Take care.
Bye.